Welcome to Wire Guild. The tutorial that we're going to be doing today is a globe ring tutorial. It's very nice, sort of a very free-form ring. As you can see, you've got sort of swirls and curls coming up around our bead. So it's a nice, cheap one to make. We've just got two pieces of 8 inches long 20 gauge or 0.8mm wire. As you can see here, I've just got that there, and I've got a Mexican turquoise bead. It's quite a big bead is this one. I'll just, yeah, it's about 10mm or a centimetre is this one. But if you don't have a bead of that side, it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to move that out of the way right now and rub off the old pencil marks. Right, I'm going to slip my ring on. As you know, now it's quite a thin ring that I've just popped on. It's only got 2 wires, so when I make my marks, I'm going to make them slightly wider so that I work between my 2 marks, which if you've watched my ring tutorials before, you know this. I do the same thing sort of every time. So I'll just make those a little bit stronger so I can see them. And I'm going to take my 2 pieces of sort of 20 gauge 0.8mm wire, what I usually use, dead soft. This time it's copper. And I'm going to place it underneath my mandrel, but not in the middle like I usually do. This is really off to one side. Just get my ruler here and yeah, you see I'm about 1.5 inch. Obviously that depends on the size of ring you're making. If you're making a really big one, you may need a little bit more. And then I'm just going to wrap that up around the ring mandrel, oh dear, ring mandrel. And then when I get to the top, I'm going to twist, keeping this nice and tight. You've done this twist before. I use it a lot to anchor the rings and stop them. So I've gone round and stopped, and as you can see, it just wraps over there. So I'm going to move that out of the way, take my snipe or chain nose pliers, and then just getting hold of the ends, I'm just going to wrap that down and around. 1 wire at a time. No point in doing anything that makes life difficult. So with little short bits of wire like this, make life easy and just use 1 at a time. So, and the other one. Right. Now, because it's lifting, can you see how the wire's lifting there? So I'll flatten down with my pliers. Now I'm going to flatten over. In you go. There we are. It's just being awkward because it's short. If you want to make life a little bit easier, you could give yourself an extra inch or 2 so that you had 2.5 inch on that side, but you only need to cut it off again, so it's really up to you. I need to bring these wires to the top. As you know, I never end wires on the inside of a ring. So we just pull that up, and that little teeny short one that doesn't want to be gripped. There we go. You see, if I had it 2 inches underneath my nose, it wouldn't seem difficult, but because my arms reach under the camera, it's slithering off. But I've still got a pokey bit, so let's get rid of that. I'll use my snips and just cut that quite short. Get the bit off the end. When it's pressed down, it hasn't to overhang, and when you've only got 2 wires, that means you don't have a lot of room. So let's just press all this flat. Make sure it doesn't try to twist on you. Nice and flat, that's what we want. Okay, so I now have these 2 wires, and these are my design wires, I suppose, if you like. As you can see on the one I'm wearing, which is another freehand ring, I've got this nice sort of curl coming up the finger. Now, to get that curl, the easiest way to do it is to actually work while you're on the ring mandrel, which I still can't say today. Oh dear. Right, so slide your ring back on the mandrel, and then I'm going to twist. I'm going to need to turn this round. I can't do it this way around. Move the wire a little bit further than you need and put your finger over the top of it. Now, that's better. I'm going to support the actual ring with one hand and do the twist with the other. Now I'm pushing onto the mandrel and just making a curve. Can you see? Get my finger out of the way. Now I can go straight back up like that. I want that curve to go a bit further, so I'm just going to squeeze that. That's better. It's in a better position, is that? And I'm flattening it down to the ring mandrel itself, and now all the way over and past. It's a little bit like the infinity sign or a figure of 8, or if you're musical, a treble clef, but my bead is going to fall off. My bead is going to stand in the middle, so I'm going to need a little bit of wire, a little bit of extra wire. This is just a bit of scrap wire that I had kicking around. It's got some lumps in it. Sorry, I'll cut a new bit, hang on a minute. You always have bits of wire, little odds and ends that you've had left over from before, so just use one of those. I think I'm using 0.4mm, but whatever you have handy, as long as it's finer, and it'll go through your bead. So I've just lifted that side out of the way, and I'm going to put my wire through my bead. Just pop that down. Now my bead is going to go there, just on the top, and I'm going to wire it in, but not just yet. I want this wire to go round. So I'll put the bead in place, check where it is, and then start bending. I'm supporting where the bead is going to go with my thumb. Yep, in there. And just easing it round. Really does look like a treble clef now, doesn't it? Won't in a minute. Right, so I'm going to lift it up, because of course the bead's quite a large one. So I need that opening, if you like, for the bead to sit in. Now, it's a bit too tight, the bead's not sitting down onto the ring properly, so I'll just open it back up again, put the bead back in. That's a bit better. Now I'm going to hold the bead and bring the two pieces of wire just round the edge of the bead. Lovely. Now the bead sits onto the ring, so I can just wrap it into place now. So going around both wires, I'm just going to flatten down with my pliers to keep those nice and neat and together, and I'll wrap around 3, 4, 5 times. You know, it's always a sort of design edge when you do a wrap around the other way. You get different ways that the eye looks, so don't think of it as just binding, think of it as something that's attractive to look at as well. So I'm going to wrap that around the other side now, so just pop it in there. Move that out of the way. There we go. Now then, just pull that tight. There we are. Just move the bead slightly so that the wire's in the correct place. Can you see how I just curve then? I just curve the wire because it makes it go around and underneath that much easier than a straight piece. It's just a sort of running it over your thumb. Close them together, curve again, and then push that inside. Bring it up. You can go around the same amount of times as you went around the other side if you wish. If you don't. Wire is so forgiving, especially something like this that is totally free form. If it matches, great. If it doesn't match, great. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to use. So I'm just going to tighten these up. Lovely. Now, I'm going to bring... You notice how I haven't cut the ends off? I'm not going to do that just yet. Let's just bring this wire around. I'm going to split the wires eventually because it's quite a high bead. So I don't mind that they're separate there. So can you see how there's this bare bit at the back? So if I take this wire here, I'm going to wrap that down around the shank of the ring. As you all know, with wire wrapping there is no soldering or gluing, therefore everything we do must help lock the piece, make it stronger, interlock it. So if you've got a wire and there's somewhere it could be, sorry, can't get hold of the end, and if there's somewhere obvious where it could be sort of tied into, which will make the whole piece stronger, tight in. So the other one I'm not going to fasten to anything. I'm just going to trim that down, because if I put that piece all the way down to the ring, you'd have this sort of trailing long piece of wire which wouldn't look particularly attractive. So I'm going to use this wire. So let me just, I'm going to cover this bare patch, so I'll just ease it over that curl, and then using my finger against the bead I'm creating another circle. We've got so many circles and waves, it's nice to repeat them. There we go, and I'm going to fasten that bit of wire around the shank. Yeah, I don't think I need anything else on it, so we'll just curl it and knot it through. The circle that I put on the bottom is helping support the bead because it's a large bead. Also, it's giving a little bit more structure and strength, but it's giving me a way of taking that wire and wrapping it around the ring that's not obvious or anything like that. So let's have a look at the other wire. No, let's get rid of that one first. Yeah, I definitely don't want to go anywhere else with it. A lot of the time you'll find that you're moving wires around and having a look and twisting it this way and that and having a look. Don't worry if when you make this ring it doesn't look exactly like this. They're really not meant to. They're fun rings that are different, unusual, and it's great that they are. So let's have a look at this other wire. What am I going to do with you? Well, I could go in a spiral and just cut it off, but I never really like that. I like wires to be finished. But first I'm going to have a look at this on my finger. Sorry, I'm just a little tight, needs stretching on the mandrel, but let's pop that on my hand and then I can have a look. Often a decision for where a wire ought to lie, if it's not obvious, will come when you actually put the piece of jewellery where it's meant to be. So if it's a pendant round your neck or if it's a ring, pop it on your finger. So I'm just going to curl quite a tight little curl just there, just so that I'm reflecting the curve there, and then that wire can go down to the ring and through the shank. So you've anchored that wire to that side, the other circle is holding the bead up and anchoring it to the back. Let's just flatten that down and make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, yeah. Needs to go back on the mandrel and make sure that it's the right size. Yeah, because it's just a bit tight right now, is that? But it looks very nice. It looks like a globe on a stand. But of course, I'm going to have to oxidise it because I just have this thing about antiquing copper. I love copper to bits. I just don't like it in this really bright form that it is. So I'm going to get that oxidised, and I'm going to show you some pictures now of it, all different angles, and it has that warmth and richness that it does when it's been antiqued or oxidised. And then finally one on my hand. Hope you liked it. My globe ring. Happy wrapping.